Integrative Life Community Building, Class 3. Integrating Body Mastery into Your Community of Spirit. Hello, I'm Jim Morningstar, Director of the School of Integrative Psychology and facilitator of the Integrative Life Community Building course. The focus of this third class in our series is how to generate and conduct energy in your body, communicate it effectively to others, and release the patterns of stuckness inherited from your family and your culture. Learning to embody and teach energy mastery to others. As several of our class exercises are interactive and expressive, you may want to choose a private space in which to view and participate in those parts of the class. I like to begin our work with an opening and centering exercise to bring our energies in alignment. I'll ask you to close your eyes and to sink into your body, noticing your breath, how you be in your body with each inhale and exhale. Now, as you inhale, imagine bringing the energy from the base of your spine up your back to the top of your head. And as you exhale, imagine this energy coming down the front of your body, returning to the base of your spine. You're forming a circle of energy, inhaling up the back and exhaling down the front of your body. Imagine this energy as a ball of light, and that as you bring it up the back on the inhale, it radiates a healing and warmth to every part of your body, all of the internal organs, as well as your skin, both on the inhale and on the exhale. Suggest that it also sends a radiant energy to the envelope around your body, your auric field, as it were, the energy that surrounds your body, the energy both outside as well as inside. Suggest that this circle of light also includes your arms and your legs, so that your entire body is in a cocoon of light energy. Now imagine, if you will, that as you bring the energy up your back, that you broaden this circle so it reaches out, extends out in front of you with each exhale, growing in size until it incorporates everyone watching this video. So your circle of light energy includes all of the other light bodies who are participating in this course. Suggest that it is safe and healing to include and be included in others' circles of light. Now I'll ask you to imagine that you greatly extend this circle of light such that each exhale gets larger and larger until you encompass our Earth, our entire planet. So as you exhale, you're sending that energy out before you to go around the entire Earth. And then as you inhale, you bring the energy from the opposite pole of the Earth to where you are right now. Bring it all the way up your back to the top of your head. So that now your circle of light includes the entire Earth. Suggest that the healing intention of your breath is to bring harmony to every part of the body of our earth, and that as we work on healing and transforming our own body, so do we extend that to our community and to our humankind, to our planet. And then bring your breath back again to the circle around your individual body, and suggest that we increase, each one of us, awareness of our presence in our body and our mastery of that vehicle of light that we call our body. That through our work in this class, we grow in companionship with our bodies, and that we learn and teach each other in this process. And then with a couple of deep and clearing breaths, bring yourself back, relaxed, alert, and receptive. What is body mastery? The purpose of our workshop today is to present body mastery as an immediate and attainable goal for everyone in this course. It's not reserved for a special few in loincloths in the Himalayas. It's something that is important and integral to every one of us. And secondly, to present methods and techniques that will further us in this process. So we're not just going to talk about it, we're going to engage in it in this class. I believe it's a mistake to try to ignore, repress, get out of, or somehow get around being in the body in this life. We've chosen to do this journey together with a body, not by accident. And we didn't get a defective one. Even though it may operate differently from other bodies, our body is a perfect servant, and it's been leading us exactly to the lessons that are most important for us, given that we can accept and attend to and learn from this sacred companion. I'm going to ask you to suspend your current ideas of what your body is, because we're going to learn about our bodies in the process of discovering how they work, how we create them, and how we change them. So this is going to be a self-discovery class, not a learn from a textbook or from some idealized form. Mastery, I'll define as the ability to use our body directly, effectively, and pleasurably in accomplishing our life fulfillment. Our body is not something to get around or an obstacle. As long as we keep trying to dismiss it or ignore it, we're missing something very important. My goal today is that every one of us takes another step in appreciating the wisdom of our body, and that we come away not just with an appreciation of it, but with an actual game plan. Where to go with this work and how to keep that mastery increasing throughout our life. Now, in this course of work today, since we're going to be focusing on our body, and we're going to learn by doing, watch your body at all times. Watch what happens as we cover different topics, different areas of the body, because your body will be signaling you. There's an organic wisdom there. You may think, oh, I just had too much for lunch, or oh, I didn't get enough sleep last night, or oh, my chair's too hard. Listen to and note what's going on, because everything that we do is going to give us messages. That's part of what we're going to work with in this class, that the body is on the job all the time. It's continually giving us feedback, so much so that we tend to blank it out. We're going to try to tune into that feedback and chunk it down so that we can make it into digestible pieces so that we can actually pay attention and do something with its feedback. You don't have to wait for an exercise in this class to do that. You can ask yourself at any time along the way, okay, I'm starting to feel some tightness in my neck right now, or my back, or we're talking about some scary subject for me, or something otherwise emotionally charged. How do I take care of myself right now? How do I take a breath that helps adjust? How do I shift my posture? How do I change my attitude rather than think that something else is putting pressure on me? For example, I've got to come up with an immediate answer as to why I'm feeling a chronic pain. I've got to change how my body looks. Much of this learning will be happening for you other than when a certain subject is being talked about or during the exercises that we're doing. That's because we have the intention for this class, just because we've decided to devote ourselves to this kind of work. Now, in a moment, we're going to start with an exercise around something you like about your body. Oh my goodness, something I like about my body? Yes. Now, remember the principles that we were working with and that we studied in the last class about spiritual psychology. When what you focus on is what increases. So if you keep looking at what I don't like about my body or where it's not measuring up to my standards or what I think the world's standards are, of course, that's what increases in my body. Now, the body, I suggested, is a perfect servant. So it's going to follow the instructions and focus on what part has the emotional charge on it, positive or negative. As a matter of fact, your body has done exactly what you have told it, the instructions you've given it, consciously or unconsciously, all along. Now, that's not an excuse to beat yourself up. The game here is getting into taking responsibility for the body. Oh, you mean I told myself to get a cold last week? Well, in a sense, yes, I did participate in the cold game now that's going around. It's a kind of a thing we do together. I might think I didn't want to participate in it, but for some reason, as we discovered in the analysis game, part of me decided to. Now, you can beat yourself up for that. But it may be something part of us decided to do in preparation for this class, even though you didn't know consciously what the topic was going to be. Yes, we're very intuitive creatures, even though we don't know exactly what we're doing every moment of the day. With body mastery, some part of us knows and brings to us the raw material for our bodies to work with. One of the hardest challenges I've seen myself engage in is that when something is not going my way, for example, I have a pain or a difficulty or a disease or something uncomfortable, that I want to judge myself for that and ask, what's wrong with me? That usually doesn't accentuate the healing. In fact, it's usually part of what my body is reflecting. I put the cart before the horse. The body is the messenger saying, you think something is wrong with you? Here's a physical manifestation of that. Ouch! But then I say, well, if I kill the messenger, anesthetize, ignore, or condemn my body for reflecting that message I'm giving it, then I'll be okay. You know, if I don't like what I wrote on the blackboard, I'll destroy the blackboard, and then I'll be fine. Out of sight, out of mind. Well, the body is here to help us see what those internal messages are, not as a cruel hoax to rub our nose in it, but to lovingly help us adjust and to do something about that. And it's only when I come to loving and accepting that I start getting on board with having my body as a perfect vehicle for expressing my love and light, a companion that I appreciate rather than an enemy that I'm fighting against. When I see my symptoms as a cleansing in action rather than a cold or an illness, it makes a big difference in how I consciously cooperate in the process and how I struggle less with it. So let's see what happens when we state something simply and honestly. Something I like about my body is. Take handout 1, the body as an energy conducting system, section 1, and write at least 10 responses to what I like about my body. Complete this now and come back to the video. The body as an energy conducting system. This class is divided into 3 sections. First of all, learning about the body as an energy conducting system. Then we're going to learn about the body as a means of communication. And finally, we'll work with the body as a product of our thoughts and how to change these thoughts. Here is a video clip from the second seminar in the Creative Life series, Body Mastery, which will give us the experience of the body as an energy conducting system. Please follow along the demonstration of the bioenergetic exercise. Our first section is the body as an energy conducting system. In physics, energy is defined as potential plus flow. Many of our bodies seem to have a lot of potential, but not much flow. So the body seems full of energy, but nothing is moving. Other bodies have a lot of flow. Things are moving all over the place, but there's very little containment. We're looking for a balance in that potential and flow. The body moves, the energy moves in the body by a process of charging and discharging. And the exercise that we're going to start with in demonstrating the charging and discharging is basic bioenergetic posture. Bioenergetics starts from the ground up. So we are looking to build a solid base for the flow of our energy by being well grounded. We start with our feet parallel, firmly planted on the ground. Now, this is an uncomfortable position for many people, feet being parallel, because generally we've put a great emphasis on keeping our gluteal muscles tight, bringing our toes out, and in the extreme, it's kind of the Charlie Chaplin posture, walking around with our toes pointed out. If you feel your buttocks when you're doing this, you'll recognize it's rather tight. This could be the origins of what we call the tight-ass society, meaning that we're all under a lot of pressure and holding in. So when we do the charging and discharging exercise, our feet are parallel. We learn to keep our ankles, knees, and hips in alignment. We bend the body into a bow position, putting a mild stress on the body, but keeping our body supported and sustained in the process. This is diagnostic in that it'll tell us wherever there are weak points or points that are continually under stress. It's therapeutic in that we can then breathe into and to release the energy holding places. The vibration that happens when we put our body in the bow position is a natural flow of life energy. This is what we look for, the body vibrating with the involuntary movement, yet I'm giving it structure, holding it in this position. My eyes are open, I'm looking forward and staying in contact with reality, and my breathing is full, diaphragmatic, as well as breathing into my heart area. The signs of vibration in the body, the signs of aliveness and flow in the body, are a clarity, a brightness, a sense of feeling together. This is contrasted to when the body is held and there is discoloration, disproportion, pain, discomfort. We'll hold this posture of charging for several minutes. And then we'll go into the discharging position, which is one of our feet are still firmly planted. We're bending forward. We have our knees slightly bent. We're allowing the vibration to continue to happen. We're breathing into our buttocks area as if it were a balloon, so that it enlarges as we inhale, contracts as we exhale. And we're letting the whole upper body be on vacation, loosening the jaw, the arms, the shoulders, but we're not collapsing. We're still maintaining the posture in which our body can vibrate. This vibration, after a while, becomes a streaming, which is quite pleasurable if I allow the flow to be easy. When, after a minute or so,
It's time to come up. I can feel like I've maintained this posture long enough. I start to bring the energy from the earth right up through my feet, through my ankles, through my knees. Very slowly I'm breathing. I'm unfurling like a flag, stacking one vertebrae upon the other. The chin is the last thing to come up. Eyes are open, and there's a feeling of being suspended by a cord coming right out of the top of my head to the ceiling. My knees are still soft, never locked. This vibration can stay with me for as long as I continue to surrender to the flow of life energy.
So what we're doing here is to help us get in tune with the ebb and flow, the charge and the discharge of our body energy, and how to unblock areas of our body that get jammed up so as to make that flow more easy. Now, the sign of flow is that the energy is flowing and we feel good in the body. Pleasure is built right in. This is a basic bioenergetic experience called the bow, the charge and the discharge. As demonstrated, it has two parts to it. The first part is putting the body in a mild stress position, like a bow, as though you were pulling back the string of a bow. When you pull back on a string of a bow, the wood of the bow has a little tension on it. Now, if there's any part of the bow that's weak, that's where it's going to break. So, to have a finely tuned bow, there's a proportional amount of stress distributed throughout. One area isn't taking more than another. The exercise that we do, as a matter of fact, all the exercise that we do, I'm going to ask you to monitor individually and not to cause undue pain. That's counterproductive. The body under the mild stress position will tend to show us hidden stored messages like, I'm scared. Oh, I don't want someone to know something about me. I'm hiding something. I'm protecting myself. All these messages get sent right from our mind through our brain to our muscles. Now, granted, we're not just going to change our muscles and immediately change our mind. However, we can work in that direction. Our body has remembered a lot of messages that we blanked out of our mind. Our body has a storehouse of the messages that we've given ourselves through our entire life. It's a neon sign of our history. Now, usually we're fairly respectful of one another, when we don't read the neon sign overtly. I don't meet someone and say, "Oh, how are you doing?" and then look them up and down from top to bottom. Generally, we're more respectful. In fact, we're very shy about that. We, in effect, say, "I'm ahead. I'm just looking at your head. Hi, how are you there?" Just eyeball to eyeball. That's about it, because our body tells us so much about who we are. Well, instead of avoiding it, instead of hiding, instead of shaming it, we want to look and read these messages in a loving way and in a helping way. To look at the flow of our body, we put the body in this mild stress position, because when we do so, any place that's already stressed will tend to stand out like a sore thumb. It may be saying, "I've got enough already. I don't need any more." So that will then allow us to relax our breath into that area and to even out the stress and our way of carrying that stress. We can also tap into the messages that we're giving to that part of our body, and through loving intention, change not just our posture, but change our stance in life. So metaphorically, change how we face life, how we take a stand, how we meet others. While doing this exercise, check the small of the back, because it's often the area that we split ourselves in two, where we segment the upper and the lower body right above the pelvic area. There's often tension there. And what we'll do is we'll cock it back and we'll tighten up the muscles. And then, again, I'm just in my upper body. So when you're doing the exercise, put your hand on the small of your back and feel that it's flat. Then you may feel an increase in the tension in your thighs. That's good. You're letting the large muscles of the thigh support you rather than having all the tension taken in the small of your back, the cause of most lower back pain. If at any time during the first part of the exercise you get shoulder pain, you can simply bring your arms down and put your fist in the small of your back, and then bring your elbows together. Continue to breathe and sink and relax into your body while doing the exercise, instead of what we generally do when we want to avoid any discomfort is start thinking about lunch, checking out, or just gritting your teeth and bowling through. Again, no medals for endurance. We're looking simply to get in touch with what we do, because what we do with the stress position is what we do with our life stress. Our body reflects our techniques. While breathing into the legs, some people might even get a burning sensation. Your heat is starting to generate. Simply sink down. Keep relaxing. When you've had enough charging, you will go into the second part of the exercise, the discharge. You will gradually build up the time you can hold each of these positions. Work respectfully and lovingly with your body. In the second part of this exercise, you can still feel the vibration mounting. So stay with it. Keep relaxing into it. Check to see if your feet are still parallel. Those pesky little critters will tend to move on you. You're going to keep our feet parallel and bend all the way forward, relaxing the upper portion of your body, keeping your knees bent. They're bent in a slight angle. And it's allowing you to keep that vibration going while the upper part of your body is now relaxing. You're discharging. The entire upper part of your body, the head, the neck, the jaw, are relaxed, on vacation as it were. Again, you're relaxing into the small of your back. With each breath, you can imagine your buttocks like a balloon that as you inhale gets bigger and as you exhale gets smaller. Now, that's a funny analogy, but it can help deepening your breath. You're allowing the involuntary tremor to happen, which may be challenging because this is something we're not used to. We think we have to stay in control all the time. For some, the discharge position is more difficult or uncomfortable than the charge position. For others, it's the opposite. You're breathing through your mouth because we need a little extra oxygen. We're in a stressful position. Now you can adjust your legs to what allows the flow to be easy and pleasurable. If you start to get too much stress in your legs or they start to feel like they're going numb, simply rise up a little bit, straightening your knees to reduce the tension. But keep the vibration going. Again, if you're getting severe discomfort, adjust. But we're looking now for a way to allow our discharge to happen easily, with support and pleasurably. Continue to imagine the roots sinking down into the earth from the center of your feet. Now, our discharging is not only physical. Remember, the physical also reflects the emotional and the mental. So, what is it that you like to release or let go of emotionally? You may find feelings starting to flow. You breathe with the feelings. Let yourself express them. You might find that there are thoughts coming up. You relax with your thoughts. Any part of your body that tends to be holding now, continue to relax and breathe into. Now, when we're coming up from the discharging, you're not going to pull yourself up with your head and your shoulders. You're coming up by letting the energy come from the center of the earth, right up through the bottom of your feet, through your ankles, through your legs, very, very slowly. Your chin is the last thing that's going to come up. You start to stack one vertebrae upon the other, one at a time. See if you can unfurl your spine rather than let your spine be a ramrod straight. When you get all the way up, your knees are still soft. It feels like there's a rope coming right out the top of your spine, connecting to the ceiling, straightening you up. You might have grown an inch or so. You may feel your body opening up. You're moving the energy, and that usually increases heat. When you've completed 1 or 2 rounds, you can then just shake a little bit. Stop the video now and practice this exercise at least once, twice if you can. Then take handout 1 and complete section 2. What I experienced that was useful to me in doing the charging and discharging exercise was. Then come back to the video. Okay, that was the basic charging and discharging bioenergetic exercise. I worked with this every day for a couple of years to help diagnostically get in touch with where my holding was and therapeutically to do something about that holding. For example, breathing into it, changing the thoughts around it. Do not try to change it all at once. Oh, my knees are sore. Okay, I'm just going to do it. No, that may be the old technique that I had, which got my knees the way they are now, which is to try to force through it. And so when I'm doing the charging and discharging, I'm looking to adjust and to work with my body so that it gradually allows energy to flow. That vibration, which you can experience if you let go into the exercise, can become quite pleasurable. So rather than resist, flow with the energy. When I'm in harmony with it, I can feel pleasure. The second component we will examine about the body being an energy conducting system is that energy potential tends to increase by contact with other bodies. The exercise we have with which to experiment is best done with a live partner. Since you may not have one at hand at the moment, let's experiment doing this together on the video, and then you can repeat it later with a willing partner. This will involve your playing with me over your video watching device in a place where you can have some privacy so as to reduce your self-consciousness. If possible, find such a setting now and come back to the video. We're going to engage in some energy moving that may have emotional charge for you. It's not intended to make you feel any specific feeling, but rather for you to observe what energies move freely through your body and what energies do not. First of all, sit facing me as your partner in this experiment and have a nice, congenial, social smile. Notice how you breathe and how the energy moves in your body. Now, notice what happens when you stop smiling and have a more neutral expression. Now, notice what happens if you can actually start to stick your jaw out a little bit in a grimace or a menacing fashion. Now, see if you can do this without making a joke out of it. Watch what happens with your energy. Now, make a little growling sound. Again, see if you can do this. Shake your fist and don't smile. See if you can feel that energy. Now continue to make eye contact. All right, keep breathing. Now, I'm going to ask you to turn your back to me. That's it. Turn around the back of your viewing device. Turn your back. You can still hear me. Notice how your breathing feels right now. Now, give me the message with your back, not verbally, but as though your back were talking. Give me the message, stay out. Again, notice your breathing. All right. Now, switch the message that you give with your back silently. Come in. It's safe to come in. Say it with your back non-verbally to me. Again, notice the energy in your body. Notice your breath. Now give the message to me with your back, again non-verbally, goodbye, and take a step away from me. Again, continue to breathe. Notice what you feel in your body and what you feel in your relationship to me. Notice if you tend to be more aware of your upper body than your lower body. Notice what happened with your breathing throughout this time. Now turn and come back to your viewing device and affirm with me that this was an exercise in observing the movement of our energies for the purpose of forgiving and releasing any holding patterns we may carry in our bodies, so that we may become more free, loving, and conscious energy beings with all on our planet. Now, take handout 1, and in section 3, complete what I experienced that was useful to me in the energy contact exercise that we just did was. Turn off the video, complete this, and come back to the video. The third component of the body as an energy conducting system is that the body energy extends beyond our skin. Now, this is probably common knowledge to most watching the video, but not all of us take the opportunity to play with our energy fields and to actually chart them. Let's start very simply. Take your hands and rub them together vigorously. Now, hold their hands apart and move them very slowly together and apart. Notice what you feel. Don't try to feel something, just notice. You may sense an energy potential in your hands in relationship to one another. Now, our body is a huge energy conducting system with an energy field around it. So, as you may have heard of, scientific experiments show that when a part of a leaf, a living organism, or even a part of our body is missing, that energy field of the missing part can still stay there. They've taken pictures of the radiant energy around organisms that have had a part recently missing, and the energy field will still show the outline of the entire organism. Our energy field is sending out radiant energy and receiving from others. We don't often get a chance to experiment with our energy field. Now we have a chance. So I'm going to show you another video clip from the Creative Life Series 2, Body Mastery, demonstrating with Kathy some of the experiments that you and a partner can do together. These are just suggestions. You may come up with other creative things to experiment with your energy field. The purpose here is to increase awareness, and through awareness to increase our mastery with it. Our body is picking up the energy field of everyone else wherever you are. So any person that is in distress or that is putting out a strong energy of any sort in your vicinity is felt on some level by you. Every time a new person comes into a group or a community, all the bodies pick that up and sense that person's energy field. The common needs around integrity of a community entails members knowing who's there and who's not there. That has a very strong physical basis because it makes a difference to everyone. We sense it in our bodies.
The next section that we're going to look at in terms of the energy flow in the body is that the energy field extends beyond the skin. A person's energy field extends outward. This has been documented in current research, and it's something that we all know intuitively, being closer or farther away from individuals. We're going to have an opportunity now to experiment with being at different distances and noticing our own experience of that, charting our own energy fields, as it were, as well as that of the partner with whom we work. We're using our body as a sensitive instrument in this. It's done non-verbally, it's done silently, and so with each step that we're taking, we're monitoring our own energy. We're not worried about the partner. Each partner is taking care of themselves. We're, of course, respectful of our partner's energy. We're not doing anything intrusive to them. This is done by agreement with a partner, one of whom stands still and remains in that position of breathing and sensitive. The other is the person that moves in and out of various sectors of their partner's energy field and their own. When one partner is complete with this, after about 10 minutes, then we'll switch and the other partner will stand still and the opposite one will move. Many different experiments can be done in this. We're only going to demonstrate a few and use your creativity as you do this exercise with your partner. First of all, I know some things already about my energy field in having done this exercise before. There seems for me to be about a 3-foot radius, which is a line of demarcation. And when I step closer to a partner, it's as though I'm stepping into a circle of energy that's quite distinct from when I step out of it. But we're not going just with what we know already. We're going to experiment in moving various distances, various heights around the body, back, sensing with the back of our body, and perhaps eyes open and closed. The number of experiments you do is limited only by your imagination. We will demonstrate just a few right now. I've tended to move a little faster than I might ordinarily if I were doing this exercise for the first time. My attempt was simply to show you various postures that you might experiment with, continuing to breathe. When you do this for about 10 minutes, you could be laying on the floor. A short person, for example, might stand on a chair to see what it's like to look down, and a person who is taller can actually look up from laying position. So let your intuition guide you. After the time is up, do not share, but wait until both parties have had a period of experimentation before you then share with one another on what you observed, what you felt.
Now, some people will get this very directly, and others will, in the beginning perhaps, hardly notice anything. That's because we're not used to tuning into our energy field. We all have the ability to tune in. It's not like some have energy fields and others don't. We all have it, and it's not about judging yourself in comparison to anyone else. It's using the opportunity to find a partner and to begin charting and exploring your energy zones. This has been studied cross-culturally. For example, in the American culture, to have a conversation 2.5 to 3 feet apart is a comfortable talking distance. If you were in the Arab world and talking from that distance, they might think you were snubbing them. A more comfortable talking distance there would be within a foot or two. Americans might feel this is quite intrusive. These zones are personal as well as cultural. Just because most people in a culture find some distance comfortable doesn't necessarily mean every person will. There may be things that happened in an individual's history that make that distance uncomfortable or comfortable. The point of this work today is to find out our own zones and how we can take care of ourselves with them. To be sure, I'm going to remind you all to keep breathing while you're doing this. It's an exercise for the person who's standing still as well as the person that's moving. Some people will find the standing still more comfortable. Some will find it less comfortable. The point is not creating discomfort, though. The point is upping our awareness so that we eventually are more comfortable with all of our zones and taking care of ourselves with them. I highly recommend engaging with a partner in this experiment now or as soon as you can after watching this video, then completing Handout 1, Section 4. What I learned about my energy zones and my relationship to others with them is. If possible, do this now and come back to the video. Some of my observations in doing this exercise is that within the zone of 2.5 feet or so, I tend to get more energy in my upper body. Again, it could vary with a male or female partner. You can do this with a partner of a different sex on separate occasions. We're just observing our associations. When I come up to about 6 inches apart, I notice a great energy wall. Culturally, that's the zone of engaging in conflict or intimacy. I had emotional reactions to looking down on someone as well as looking up at close range. I felt quite differently with the back of my body than the front. Our culture is full of expressions which reflect general attitudes to our postures in these zones, like turning your back on someone. Sometimes postures reflecting opposite intentions. For example, I've got your back versus doing things behind your back. Or getting in one's face, confronting, versus seeing eye to eye. Looking up to someone versus feeling looked down upon. Being on my side versus not facing me. Kneeling before someone as a sign of reverence versus being brought to one's knees. All these expressions signal energetic patterns that are deep within our bodies and psyches. Awareness of your reaction to levels of closeness, positions, and parts of your energy field are part of body mastery. The body as a means of communication. Now, we worked in the first section with the body as an energy conducting system. Now we're going to look at the body as a means of communication. What I'm going to ask you to do now, as you're watching this video, is to stand up. Okay, now hold it right there. Stop. Freeze. Don't move a muscle. Stay right in the position you are when I said stop, whether you're still standing or sitting or in between. I want you to breathe, though. Don't hurt yourself holding that position. If you're in an awkward position, you can adjust so you can stay with it. But notice exactly how you be in that position right now, in that frozen state. I want you to breathe. Just be aware of it, what your body is conveying right at this moment of transition that we stopped you. Okay? Breathe into it. And first of all, as you breathe, make a sound that goes with the body posture you're in right now. That's good. All right. Now, I want you to put some words to this body posture. A word or a phrase that communicates right now what your body is saying. Hurry up, or I'm scared, or whatever it is. And just say that softly. Say it out loud. Okay, now turn and say that message to me, the message that your body is giving. Say it out loud to me. Okay. Now, relax the posture, but take a mental photograph of your position and the message of your body, and go to handout 2, the body as a means of communication, and you will complete freeze frame body message. A, the posture my body was in the moment of freeze was. B, the message my body was giving me was. C, the ways my body was conveying this message was. List all the ways your body was portraying your message. D, the circumstances in my life in which this posture and or messages are typical are. So what times or places would this posture and or message happen to you in your daily life? E, what about my posture was incongruent with my message? So list any way your body was not conveying the message you wrote. And F, what is useful to me about this exercise? So an awareness you had about yourself, applications that may come from this exercise, etc. Turn off the video and complete handout 2 now, and come back to the video. You know our body is communicating all the time. It's giving messages not only to the world, but to ourself about our comfort, our safety, our sense of abundance, our sense of harmony. Let's examine some of the postures that we have adopted and see if we can give ourselves a little more flexibility in our choices. And if you can't in your current environment, well, then maybe you need to change environments, or at least get a little more elbow room so that you're being nurtured more regularly. The first exercise in this section was a little slice of life. We stopped at a point of transition. We could have stopped 5 seconds later, and your body would be in a different posture, giving a different message. Even though it was a transitory message and posture that you had, you may have found some typical things that relate to your way of being in the world. Typically adopted body postures. Now let's look at some of the body messages that get incorporated that aren't transitory, that tend to be relatively permanent messages that we're giving to ourselves in our world. And let's start from the ground up. Again, I'm going to play a clip from the Creative Life Series 2, Body Mastery class, so that you'll have a visual of the body parts to which I'm referring.
Your body is continually conveying messages about who you are to the world. Some of these messages are relatively fleeting, and others are more enduring. Our body has structured postures which continually give messages to others as well as ourselves about our stance in life. coming from the ground up. Now we're going to look at some of the messages that we give to ourselves and to our world. Starting with the feet. If the feet tend to be high and off the ground, like the arches are pulled up, I may be saying to my own body and to the body of the earth, it's not safe to contact you. And so my continual message is I'm afraid of being in contact. On the other hand, the other extreme is flat-footed, where I have very little energy in my feet. They're just plopped to the earth and I feel completely spiritless, earthbound. Or the direction of my feet may tell something about my life too. I may look like or feel like I'm a skier going downhill, going in this direction one time and in that direction at the next step. Not having a direct line in my life's goals. My ankles often tell about my flexibility. If I am extremely split and scared, frozen, I have very little mobility in my ankles. My ankles are tight and rigid. Also my knees, if they're locked back, I may be holding myself up at all costs. Knees have a lot to do with fear, and in our life there are many expressions like bringing someone to their knees. It means that they can no longer support themselves because they've been overpowered. In our work in bioenergetics, we look to keep the knees unlocked, open and flexible, able to move in various directions rather than locked into a singular position. This is true also of the pelvis. If our pelvis is locked forward, then we have very little reserve, and our whole mid-body area is held in a frozen position. Conversely, if it's locked back, again, we have no room to back up. The locked back position is often connected with the chest out and the jaw out, kind of a cocky posture. In other words, I'm cocked back and ready to fire. The pelvis forward position is often I'm depleted. I've already given all my energy. And my knees locked and pelvis locked forward, again, implicate me or give the message of I'm holding myself up at all costs. Whereas the flexible posture gives me room to move with the circumstances, room to flow with what's right at this particular time. My belly is the area of the furnace of life and power. In many Oriental systems, the Tantien or the Ka is located in the belly area. Even in the Western tradition, there's a phrase, the man of belly, often seen as someone who's powerful. Again, if it's overdone and there's too much belly, it's like a pushing people around and not being soft and receptive. The chest area has to do with how close we are with our heart. How, if I can't let others close to my heart, I keep my chest expanded and keep others away. I may seem very brave because I let no sense of fear into me. I don't let any sense of closeness either. On the other hand, if my chest is collapsed, I am not filling myself with life energy, and I have very little reserves with which to carry out love and work in life. The back muscles have to do with strength and endurance in one's work, and they're connected with the shoulders. If my shoulders are continually under pressure or burden and rounded over, I may look like I have the world on my back. Indeed, I'm continually carrying stress and pressure in my back. If my shoulders are all the way up, I might look like a turtle with my head about to duck in, indicating a sense of fear, a sense of my aggressive energy is intimidating. If my shoulders are back, my aggressive energy, assertive energy again, is cocked and ready to fire. But there's no softness or surrender associated with that. If my shoulders are all the way forward, it may be in a protective message to the world, saying, my heart is tender and hurt. I have to keep it guarded. Coming up the body further, the neck, in points in history, is a long, thin neck has been associated with being above it all, being quite cultured, and separating the thoughts, the ivory tower of the head, from the baser feelings of the heart. The opposite of that is a thick neck or no neck, where whatever is in the belly immediately is coming out the mouth. The jaw says a lot about our aggressive, assertive energy. Is it forward in a posture of defiance? Or is it back in a sense of being weak-chinned, having little aggressive energy? The lips tell something about our sense of nurturance in life. Are we continually looking to be nurtured? Full lips, reaching out. Or are we tight-lipped and we're holding back? I'm not going to swallow anything you tell me. So I'm keeping myself rigid and defended. The face in general tells a lot about our facing the world, how receptive we are. Is it okay to have my feelings be out and expressed? Or do I keep myself behind a mask so that no one knows what it is that I'm feeling at any time? My eyes say a lot about my meeting and greeting others. Is it safe to contact others? Do I reach out with my eyes to meet them? Or is contact unsafe and I look past everyone with a kind of a blank stare, afraid to fix or to make contact because it might be dangerous? I notice every time I do not make contact or look with a blank stare that my breathing stops. Again, the associations, one body message with the others, it's unsafe to be fully alive or to feel fully alive. The last body message is the way that we hold the top of our head to the world. And I've noticed that a sense of freedom comes from a lack of encumbering the top of the head with a lot of hair. Although that's been questioned as to whether I'm just prejudiced with my particular body type. But I'll let you decide that for yourself. Thank you.
We're looking at how we face the world. And the messages we're not just putting out to the world, but I think even more importantly, the messages we're giving to ourselves. And what was originally perhaps a very adaptive message for an environment that was dangerous, for example, or unfriendly, now become a habitual message for all environments. It cuts down on our resourcefulness. So this is not about getting critical of our body postures. Let's become friends with it. Let's examine and release some of the holding patterns so that we can choose the situation that we want to be guarded in rather than have it happening all the time, because that's overkill and depletes us. Okay, let's look at a body part now that's giving a signal and a message to you. It may give you a message by being uncomfortable, or it may give you a message by being totally blanked out, or there are various kinds of sensations that may not be totally uncomfortable, but are like a red flag that's waving to you. So let's tune in on a body part right now that seems to stand out and give you a message. You choose whatever body part that is. I'm going to ask you to take handout 3, body messages, and in section 1, you will complete what and then you say your body part, is telling me, and then you just write whatever comes for the first 15 responses. The messages do not have to make sense to your brain right now. Just write whatever comes out. For example, what my left shoulder is telling me, or what my intestines are telling me. Don't make it too general like what my body is telling me. Make it specific to a certain part of the body, certain area of the body. Keep writing until you get 15 or more responses. Make sure you get some of its feelings, not just thoughts. When you've completed section 1, look at what you've written and put a little check mark by what message came out that surprised you the most. Next, put a little heart sign by the message that was most nurturing to you. Then, in section 2, complete something that was useful to me in listening to my body part was. Turn off the video and complete handout 3, sections 1 and 2, and come back to the video. Okay, so I recommend that you continue to play with this at various times in your life during the day. The more you practice it, the more you tune in, the more powerful the messages will be for you. Awareness leads to freedom, and that leads to mastery. And rather than just popping an aspirin or gritting your teeth and pulling through it, the consultation with your body can give you more power than you ever imagined or thought you had. It can be scary to have that direct pipeline. You say, oh no, my body is saying something about my attitude, but I've got to go to the doctor. They know what my body is saying. Or I've got to ask my mommy. She knows best. Or whoever the mommy substitute is for the day. And each of those practices is turning my body over to some outside authority. Now, that's not to say you should never see a doctor or ask for others' opinions, but even if you do go to the doctor, you're still going to be the court of last resort. Do I really want to have an operation tomorrow? Is that really necessary? So you're taking the outside input, but you're not selling your body short. Yes, sometimes the messages are confusing. Sometimes there seems to be two different messages that seem contrary at the same time. Work harder. Relax. Well, if I stay with it, what may come out of that is I'm confused. And I do have both dictates going on at the same time. And guess where they're happening? Right there in my body part. Whatever it is. Right there, I'm giving two messages at the same time. And no wonder it's tired or stressed out or doesn't know what to do. It's not my back's problem. It's my mind's problem. I'm trying to make my body serve two masters at once. If I can have an inner dialogue and come to a working consensus, then I will give more congruous messages to my body, and my body will respond with pleasure. Okay, a couple of other overall body messages here. We've been looking at specific body parts. There can be more general displacements. Upward displacement, where people walk around with their energy in the upper body, tends to go with a sense of inflated ego importance. You know, I'm all up here, in control, in charge. And the upper body can even be disproportionately large to the lower body. Or the lower body having displaced energy. All my energy is down, flat. It's like I can't get my energy up. I'm depressed. I'm dragging all the time, and my body reflects that. There could be asymmetries, the right side being associated with right-handedness, aggressive, yang, male energy. That can be overdeveloped. Or the left side, the inside, the receptive, the yielding, the feminine yin energy. I noticed in myself for many years when I tended to have pain or discomfort, it was on the right side, reflecting a tendency on my part to push myself, and so display overbalance in the yang energy. In terms of our balance, this example always stands out for me. If I had a 3-foot tall lead egg in front of me right now, and it were perfectly balanced, I could hold it up with one finger. However, if you can imagine the weight of that huge 3-foot tall lead egg, if I started to lean it to one side, it'd take all my energy to hold it up. Well, when my body is balanced and has perfect symmetry, it takes very little energy to hold it up. However, if I'm leaning this way in my hips and leaning that way in my rib cage and leaning this way with my neck and shoulders, leaning that way and leaning this way with my head, they're all going in different directions. Imagine all the energy it takes just to be here. I'm exhausted just sitting or standing. So the value of body work is apparent. But it's not just someone moving my body in the right position. I've got to be able to move my mind and my feelings in alignment too. And when I maintain my body alignment, it's not just a mechanical change. It's an attitudinal change. My body can help me discover where I'm holding in my attitudes. It can tell me about my balance and my struggles in life, as well as my sense of grounding, my connection with the earth, my ability to take a stand. Overall characterological message. The final aspect of a body as a means of communication that we're going to play with is a snapshot overview of your body's message to the world as though it were a character on stage. This will be a role that's quite familiar to you. It's a message that your body gives to the world often. You may not be aware that your body is giving it, but we're often unaware of a role that we are portraying that's quite obvious to others. Now, the hypothesis here is that awareness can lead to freedom and to more pleasure. If I'm aware of what I'm doing, I can play with it. I'm not stuck in it. We all have roles in life, father, daughter, employee, but they don't have to become a trap for us. We can get very serious about our attitudes in life. Oh yes, that's me, the eternal caretaker. Yes, there are a number of roles we play in various life situations. But for the purpose of this exercise, choose one that's been relatively enduring in your life. That is, for example, the responsible eldest, the baby in the family, the black sheep, the rebel, the hero, the victim, the loner or lost soul, the nerd or everyone's friend, the peacemaker, the jokester. It may not be that you like this role, yet you seem to end up in it often. So you'll take handout 4, role playing, and complete section 1. A typical role I play is. Section 2, something positive I get from this role is. Section 3, a disadvantage for me in this role is. Section 4, how I could be more conscious about choosing, modifying, or not playing this role is. Stop the video and complete handout 4 and come back to the video. The body as a product of our thoughts. Our third and final section of our body mastery study is our body as a product of our thoughts. This topic will give us some more leverage in terms of how to make changes we want in relation to our bodies. We think 40 to 50,000 thoughts a day. Now, that's a conservative estimate on the number of thoughts that pass through the human brain in one day. Most of these are variations on similar themes. Most of these are thoughts that revolve around deeper personal laws, as we've talked about in the last class. That's highly reinforcing. Anything you hear 40 to 50,000 times a day, over and over, day after day, is going to sink in. Our job is not to lop the heads off the dandelions as negative thoughts in our mind field, but to get down to the taproots, get down to the majorly reinforced thoughts that tend to run our life. Remember, our contention is that the buck stops with us in terms of responsibility for these thoughts. It's not about blaming our parents or society. That gets us nowhere. As the teacher Reverend Ike used to say, there's nothing so bad as a good excuse. That's what keeps us stuck. Many of our thought patterns about our body originated in our early life. We're going to do some exploration to help us ferret out these thoughts that have led to the patterning upon which we have created our body. Many of these early patterns of thinking we adopted as children through watching how our parents related to their bodies. You're going to take handout 5, the body as a product of our thoughts, and in section 1A, complete 10 responses to the way my mother related to her body was, and in 1B, 10 responses to the way my father related to his body was. Take whatever comes to you, again, whether the responses are logical or not. Get your logical mind out of the way. Be the witness rather than the critic, even as feelings arise in this work. Be willing to surprise yourself by what comes out, but try not to make them all positive or negative. If you do not have a parent in your childhood, then use the closest parent substitute that you had. After completing section 1, complete section 2A, how I relate to my body in the way my mother relates to hers is 10 responses, and B, how I relate to my body in the way my father relates to his is 10 responses. Now, granted, there are a whole slew of ways that we're different. We're not denying that. We're not saying we're carbon copies. But we are going to focus, for the purpose of our work in this class, on some of the ways that we are similar. Don't forget the obvious things. Write them. But also let come up some things that may surprise you, some things that maybe you've never thought about before. Be aware of your body states and keep breathing as you do. Awareness can then help us release the emotions which have kept our patterns unconscious and seemingly unrelenting. Then move to section 3, the what to do about it part, and complete. I now forgive myself for 10 responses. Now, this is genuine forgiveness. It's not about heaping abuse on yourself. It's a genuine letting go of those negative judgments that you had held on to or are holding on to about yourself. They don't have to be the exact things you just related in the prior exercise, or they could be. See what comes up. For example, I forgive myself for treating myself the way my father treated me. I forgive myself for believing I couldn't do any better because of having the mother I had. I forgive myself for... Look at what you have an emotional charge on. We're coming into bringing it home and forgiving ourselves. Finally, section 4 is the payoff. Complete. How I'm willing to love my body more is 10 responses at least. It's not that you're promising to do all these things that you say, but at least you have the willingness. You're planting the seeds and watering them with self-forgiveness and love more and more every day. Stop the video and complete handout 5, sections 1 to 4, then come back to the video. The work we have done thus far has prepared us to go for the taproot of the personal law around our body's restrictions. And here's how we'll do it. Very simply, you'll complete handout 5, section 5A. My most negative thought about my body is. Don't obsess about this. Is this really the most negative thought about my body? If you hit a really hot one, that's good enough. That'll take you where you need to go. Once you get that, then go right for the jugular of the personal law. Write an affirmation that hits that thought right between the eyes. Write the affirmation that goes right in there to start unlocking and releasing that thought and the emotional energy holding it in place. Once you have an affirmation, write it in section 5B. My body affirmation is. Remember as much as you can to make your affirmation positive, present, personal, and practical enough to stretch you without being totally unbelievable. Then finally, complete section 5C. Something I'm willing to acknowledge about my body is. 5 responses. This is not about boasting. This is truthful acknowledgement. Stop the video and complete Handout 5, Section 5. If you're willing, for extra credit to yourself, before you come back to the video, look into the mirror and say and feel your affirmation to yourself at least 5 times. The last time you say your affirmation, get close to the mirror and whisper it to yourself tenderly. Then come back to the video. I heartily suggest to get full, lasting benefit from the work you accomplished in this class that you write your affirmation on a card or cards or pieces of paper, and that you put it somewhere where you're going to see it every day, on your desk, your bathroom mirror, your phone, or computer. Feel it every time you see it. It will produce molecular changes the more willing you are to take the deeper truth of it into your heart. Handout 6 gives us homework for Class 3. 1. Complete your class handouts before next class. 2. Choose a partner or partners with which to share your journey and make the commitment to connect at least once to share your goals, handouts, and progress before next class. This is an essential part of community building. 3. Do a daily practice of completing the class monthly sentence stem. This month's sentence stem is, something I acknowledge about my body is. I encourage you to share this with our group via our class email thread. This is a very vital component of seeing community consciousness throughout our life, not just in the class. 4. Personally review your Class 1 Handout 3 goals before next class, because we're going to be doing our 4-month review then. 5. Do some form of conscious breathing. If not each day, then each week, alone and or with your partners. The suggested daily breathing for this class is breathe into some body part and ask for its guiding message for you. This is especially great to do before completing your daily sentence stem. Body mastery is self-love that will produce more practical rewards than just entertaining some pleasant thoughts about your body and then slide back into old patterns of self-abuse. How you feel about and treat your body speaks to the deepest levels of how you value yourself. To repeat, body mastery is the ability to use our bodies directly, effectively, and pleasurably in accomplishing our life fulfillment. Our body is the mirror which reflects how we conduct our energy, communicate our truth, and express our love. It's the product of our thoughts, the child we birth into the world. How we treat our child is how we value our most intimate and vulnerable parts. Our bodies deserve our love and protection, nourishment, encouragement, and support every day for their health and growth, up to and including the death or transition process we choose. Some would say, and I'm one of them, the entry into this earth plane requires a certain level of body mastery to begin with. We have the privilege to build upon that beginning with each breath we take, which by itself is a totally miraculous process of energy mastery in exchange with all other living beings on the planet. Embracing the reality of the miracle our body is helps others do the same. The world starts to display a greater reverence for these sacred temples we have created. Peace, harmony, joy, and creative play will come to occupy life on the planet. This is a reality that starts with how each one of us wakes up to and embraces body mastery as our birthright and daily practice. Thanks for bringing your bodies here to co-create our next level of evolution with me, holding you in my heart as fellow travelers on the road home. I send and receive blessings for our circle and all sentient beings till next class. Blessings in light and love.